Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at the Binky Brown Sampler, a collection of Justin Green's Binky Brown stories from various underground comics beginning in the early 70s. It includes the 1972 classic underground Binky Brown Meets the Holy Virgin Mary. An incredibly influential underground. One could argue one of the most important underground comics ever published. It basically introduced the whole concept of autobiographical comics into the comics medium. Art Spiegelman claims there would be no Mouse without that comic. And of course, obviously, a whole generation would take the ball and run with it. We have a new cover here by Justin Green. As you can see, Justin Green has a very kind of wonky, weird style. It's pretty straight, but it's also like, I don't know what the word is to describe it well. Frankly, kind of amateurish. It looks just, it's definitely not slick. When I was a kid and I first discovered Justin Green, I didn't like his art. I was like, this looks kind of sloppy and weird. Now, of course, I soon started reading his comics, loving the writing, and now I can't imagine any other art that would fit with it. It's perfect for the because Justin Green writes about neuroses a lot and inner turmoil. He's just amazing. A very funny artist too. He's one of those artists who can just draw someone that, I don't know, cracking an egg and it'll look funny. Like, there's something about the expressions he puts on people's faces. It's a kind of a slim collection. There weren't that many Binky Brown stories. As you can see by the testimonials on the back, Robert Crumb, Jim Woodring, Bill Griffith, S.K. Wilson, the Binky Brown Meets the Holy Virgin Mary comic kind of really hit people hard. It was blew people away, and because nobody was ever doing anything like that before. R. Crumb is another one who claims that, like, yeah, all those comics I made where I'm like just exposing my inner demons. He got that from Justin Green too. We have some more new art here. As you can tell, there's going to be lots of stories of Catholic guilt and obsession and stuff, and compulsion. This side front cover is kind of weird. It's just this little kind of mini story here and a photo of these trapeze artists. I don't know. It doesn't really explain what this was from. It's very unlike Justin Green's other stuff. We have a really nice title page with some more Justin Green art. I like that he made his own Last Gasp logo for the publisher. I was curious, guys. So a lot of these books I got at bookstores, they still have the penciled price here and the date. How bookstores will do that. I have this weird thing where I don't want to erase these. For some reason, I want to, even 50 years from now, I want to open these books. Well, I'm not going to be alive, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know why. It's just like, do you have that? Do you erase the bookstore notations? For some reason, I just can't bring myself to do it. I don't want to. There's my little Binky Brown retentive weirdness at play. The indicia, and we have the contents here. So we have an introduction from Art Spiegelman. It contributes a little drawing even of Mouse, and he talks about the importance of Justin Green's work and how it really influenced so many other great cartoonists. Really nice introduction. We have here Message to Parents by Justin Green with this really great illustration here. And it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. And here's some more writing from Justin Green, kind of explaining himself, how he feels about the Catholic Church, why he wrote the comic, and brings up his obsessive compulsive disorder, which back in the early 60s, when these stories take place, that wasn't a thing. Nobody knew what that was. People would just say you're a weirdo. So here we go. Just like the cover says, unexpurgated. God, I could never say that word. Sorry, guys. Unexpurgated. Oh, God, I'm a moron. So, you know what I'm talking about. They even published the covers in color, as if this is a facsimile of the original comic. So here we go. Binky Brown meets the Holy Virgin Mary. God, this cover kind of just sums it all up. I love this, how this giant phallic snake is coming from between his legs, and the pain on Justin Green's face. I should mention, Binky Brown is just a proxy for Justin Green. It's that kind of autobiography where he doesn't want to say, oh, this happened to me. He acts like it's this character, Binky Brown, but it's obviously Justin Green's experiences. So I also want to give you a little personal anecdote. So a few months ago, we had a video on the channel, an unboxing of my friend Andy D'Angelis, who had recently passed away. His daughter sent me a box of his comics. These comics were very powerful to me, important in my mindscape, because when I was a little kid, he would just let me go through his comics. He had shit I never heard of before. You know, this is like the late 70s. I'm buying whatever, Marvel 2-in-1 and the Micronauts, and he had all kinds of weird DC stuff from the 60s and 70s, but he had a few undergrounds. Some of them were fucking gnarly. He had like that Image of the Beast by Tim Boxall. Guys, if you've ever seen that comic, do not let a kid look at it. It's just over the top, gore and sex. But he had this one, and I remember reading this, my first underground. I think I was 13, 14. I was transfixed because it spoke to me. I grew up Catholic, and I was feeling horrible feelings of guilt, feeling that I was going to hell just because I had a boner, just because I wanted to make out with the girl at school. And also I had very, very mild, I guess, OCD. I think I've gotten better. I definitely have tendencies, but I would make these tiny little lists with a pencil, and if it wasn't sharp enough, I'd erase it all over and say, it's not perfect. I definitely had stuff like that, where I would do things that were ridiculous. I just had to do things a certain way. So this comic, when I read it, I guess I was 13. I was just like, comics can do this? Comics can actually talk about your... It's like Justin Green knows my mind. How does he know? It really, this comic is almost totemic to me. It's seeing that cover again. I love this introduction page. Justin Green is truly the tortured artist, kind of explaining himself to the reader. So here we go. Here we start off with the 40-page epic. It says, once upon a time, we see a young Binky Brown. He is playing ball in the house. The ball knocks over the statue of the Virgin Mary. And the mother is just freaking out. You've destroyed the Madonna. And of course, Justin Green feels terrible. He's a young kid, raised on the Catholic Church. And of course, he's the kind of kid who believes in all those weird things like step on a crack, break your mother's back. So he thinks it's his fault. He must have stepped on a crack. And then we realize just how fucked up this kid is. He's beyond just normal OCD, like being finicky. He hears voices and stuff. And so it's raining one day, and a patch of grass, Justin Green actually draws faces on them, say, sit on us so we won't get wet. Protect us or something bad will happen. So in the middle of this downpour, instead of running home, Justin Green sits on this grass because they told him to. An old man, a neighbor, sees him and kind of grabs him and says, what the hell are you doing, you crazy kid? I'm taking you home. So we realize quickly that Binky Brown is fucked up. We see his method of going to sleep every night, where he sings weird songs and bangs his head up against the headboard. That's the only way he gets to sleep. My sister did something like this. She would kneel down and bang her head against the pillow. It was weird. I guess she just wanted to do that to get to sleep. And then finally he'd drift off to sleep. And he would dream of broken tractor parts. That was weird. I really love this panel here. It's almost like a little Nemo in Slumberland. The things about Justin Green's stuff, it's so funny. Like, he's talking about all this stuff, which is kind of terrifying, especially to someone like me, who is like so in this milieu myself. But he always like adds, a funny drawing to a concept. He'll almost like a simile drawing of what he's writing. It's or metaphor. It's pretty fun stuff. It's always entertaining. So Justin Green is this Binky Brown grows up. He's this very, goody two shoes, doesn't want to offend Jesus. He loves Jesus. And he talks about some, weird instances from his childhood. He would take baths with his sister and like show off his little wee-wee to them. One day, a guest at the house, an adult male, said, "Hey, I gotta pee too. Let's cross swords, have a sword fight." So they're both peeing, and he's just like, the size of his penis is freaking me out. It's so much bigger than mine. He has this weird little rubber or plastic piggy toy. And something scrapes it or something. Of course, it sets him off because he has OCD. But then, because he's freaking out, he actually has his first orgasm. Something about holding this pig and worrying about its wholeness. Just such a weirdo. I think all of us feel like we're a little weird, especially at that age. But man, reading this, you're just like, whoa, man, that was pretty normal. We see him telling dirty jokes with his friend, finding out about the birds and the bees. He doesn't like it. It freaks him out. I love this drawing where, his friend kind of tells him what sex is. It's like, oh yeah, it's when the man goes into the woman. And Justin Green can't even picture it. He pictures this unique crucifix position for coitus here. Oh, what a maroon. So he went to a Catholic school with taught by the stereotypical sadistic mean nuns. This one nun, one of the few who was actually kind, 6 months later, he actually saw her on the street without her penguin outfit on. He didn't even recognize her. And she basically says, "Binky, I left the church. And I just wanted to show you I'm a real person." And Binky gets mad at her. He says, "You're going to burn in all hell. How could you abandon the church?" We have this little Ripley's Believe It or Not parody, Believe It or Burn. And with these just weird little Catholic beliefs. The flame in hell is of a special type that allows one to feel perpetual agony without being destroyed. I remember as a young guilty Catholic, I would just lie in bed picturing the worst tortures waiting for me in hell. Like just really gross, shit that would make an EC comic blush. Things like, they're going to slice my eyeballs and then it'll grow back and then they'll slice it again. Just really gruesome things, I would imagine. We see these Catholic students brainwashed. He actually draws them as marionettes with strings. as they're reciting some catechism of some sort. Now, Binky Brown's getting to an age where he's starting to like girls, and this is not a good thing for Binky Brown. He has a crush on this one girl, and he talks about the host, the Eucharist. So Binky Brown's father is Jewish, and he's always trying to like make his dad come around. And just like, Dad, don't you believe in God? And he's worried that his father's going to go to hell. He really believes in this stuff full on. Some more scenes of him in church, him in Catholic school. See what I mean by how he draws? It's kind of ungainly. It's not pretty, but man, it's so perfect. It's just because it's real. It's as kind of homely as real life. He's got a little brother who's a brat. He doesn't seem to be as fucked up as Binky Brown. So many things bother him. He's at one point his butt itches a lot. And then he scratches it and his hand smells. And this really disturbs him. All these, normal bodily functions, urges, he doesn't like it. He feels like he's becoming farther away from God. But he does question things. He wonders why God kicked Adam and Eve out of the garden, if he's, such a nice guy. And kind of disparaging Eve because of her, we all have original sin. At least that's what, Catholics believe. It's interesting, he draws the soul looking kind of like lungs. And he actually has a slight digression, explaining why. He says, so many fucked up Catholic youngsters envision the soul in a semi-lung shape. And he says maybe it's because the sign of the cross goes right over your lungs. I don't know. But he says at least he and some other Catholic kids, they almost thought your soul, just like lungs, could be polluted by bad thoughts. Just like a smoker's lung could become, diseased from smoking. Your lung was this like black, nasty thing if you sin too much. Man, already he's such a neurotic little messed up kid. It gets a lot worse though. So there's this one girl he really has a crush on, Kathy Floss. He has these bizarro pre-sexual fantasies about her. These sex perverts grab Binky and Kathy and tie them up naked. He has no choice. It's just so fucking sad and weird. Now, Kathy Floss didn't even know that Binky existed. I love his fantasy. His greatest wish is that he could be the altar boy when Kathy takes her communion, so he could just stand there looking at her open mouth, receiving the host. Ay. This is hitting a little too close to home. It's bringing up memories I didn't want to come up. So just lots of small incidences in his childhood life where we realize just how riddled by Catholic guilt he is. Constantly fearing for his soul just because he has a crush on a girl and wants to kiss her or see her naked. A lot of it's him explaining, as a youngster, how he saw the Catholic Church, the religion, about how sins are forgiven, how you could get indulgences, all this arcane knowledge, you know. If you're Catholic, you're well familiar with it. If you're not, it seems kind of bizarre and medieval almost. So eventually, his parents take him out of this Catholic school and send him to a Jewish school. He notices that all the kids are smarter and they're competitive. So he goes from being like the top kid in his class to being at the very bottom. He also says that the Jewish boys had matured earlier. They already had hairy dongs, he notices in the gym class. And the girls developed at a younger age. I guess that's pretty anecdotal, I imagine. I don't think statistics back that up. Maybe they do, who knows? So now he has a new crush, this girl, Coco Reingold. And she's a Protestant girl. He has these little fantasies about him being like the wild one, Marlon Brando, you know, just being super cool and wooing her. But basically, it seems like all of his classmates think he's a total freak. Just a dork. He has lots of body shame issues. He tries to get out of gym so he doesn't have to go to swim class. He's going to take off his shirt. To let off steam, young Binky Brown would throw darts at a picture of Marilyn Monroe in a bikini. Just such a repressed, sad kid. So fucked up. So now we start talking about his OCD. He had certain ways to skip down the stairs every day. It had to be in a certain way. Had to be perfect or do it all over again. I love this weird depiction of his obsession. It's the steps. And they're grabbing him come back here, you didn't do it right. Cleanliness issues obsessed him. He had weird fetishistic loves. This weird rubber bumper from a car. He actually saved up his money to buy one. It kind of looks like a butt plug. But then angels would talk to him and be like, you're terrible for doing that. Return it and donate the money to charity. He would sometimes, he would evade his compulsions by ducking into a fantasy land. Almost like an ostrich, you know? Just stick his head into his dreams, fantasies. But sometimes that would go awry. That could backfire. He'd see a picture of a muscular Jesus looking all hunky. And it'd be like, oh my God, homo thoughts about Christ. This is horrible. So now this is where things get really weird. Binky Brown starts feeling like certain rays are emanating from his Johnson, from his loins. So he can't keep a crucifix close to it. That would be unseemly. That would be horrible if his penis rays, he struck the cross. So he starts having weird things where he can't keep a crucifix too close to his, anywhere below his belt. He starts seeing that little rubber bumper guard he bought as a phallus. Kind of is. It's very, So he tries to confess to these priests. All the priests are pretty lenient. And they're just basically saying, don't worry about this shit. As long as you know what's wrong and you really don't have ill intent, God knows that. And God knows we all have urges. As long as you're fighting them and not just giving in to them, you're fine. It's almost like Binky doesn't like that answer. He wants to be, dressed down by these priests. He even goes to the harsher priest. There's one priest who everyone knows is like a hard ass. So after going to the first one, he says, I'm going to get a second opinion. So now begins a lifestyle of just constantly feeling guilty, saying as many prayers as he can. If he says a prayer wrong, he's got to double down and do it again. So it's amazing that Justin Green, since this is who this is about, it's amazing that he could just function. As the pages go on, we'll just see his brain completely subsumed by thinking about what's possible sins he did, how many prayers he has to do to counteract them. That actually did happen to Justin Green. His grades suffered. Basically, he was using all of his brain power for this crazy bullshit. So now things get really bad. So Binky thinks that there's this huge ray beam coming from his penis. Now, it just goes on and on forever. And he starts to believe that he can't ever let the beam cross with any holy place like a church. So when he's walking home sometimes, he has these horrible dilemmas of like, there's two churches. How can I walk between them without my penis beam intersecting them? God, it's so fucked up. I love this panel right here where he's just going, he imagines his penis beam just destroying this church. And of course now he feels just so guilty. He's like, I must be one of Satan's agents. Now we see Binky Brown's family goes on vacation. And he asks God to give him a sign that basically tell me what I'm doing, if it's a mortal sin or just a venal sin. He'll send me a black gumball if it's a mortal sin. I need to know. Of course, so sad. A black gumball comes out. He just sets him on a tailspin. So this whole vacation, he's not enjoying himself at all. He's just totally wrapped up in his head, thinking about God, thinking about sin, how he's going to hell. And now it gets worse. Now all of his fingers turn into little penises, all emanating rays or beams. He tries praying to the Blessed Virgin, but he's terrified that his beams will touch her. Oh, this poor bastard. I love this drawing where he's riding on a bumpy road, and it seems like all of this guilt, this horrible guilt, seems to fuel his kind of budding sexuality. I guess it's the whole Madonna horror, repression, and then kind of leading to perversion thing when you're repressed. And this bumpy road makes him have an orgasm. And I love this wonky drawing he does. It's almost like the drawing goes kablooey here. It's a different artist. Of course, he finds the orgasm extremely disquieting. So now he feels even worse. He's like, oh God, I gotta pray 50 more times tonight to the Virgin Mary. We see him in school lusting after classmates, female classmates. The whole time he's thinking about his penis beams hitting people, especially women. And of course, thinking about this stuff leads to him having weird sexual fantasies. He's like going down on a nun here. So now it's to the point where he's just like, he's a wreck. This poor kid, if somebody could have just talked to him and set him straight, he's a fucking wreck. He's basically crying up to God. He's just like, please just kill me. Maybe I could make it to purgatory. I'm definitely not making it to heaven. I don't even want to die with my penis pointing up towards heaven. So sad. It's all made up. That's the sad thing. This kid totally lives in this beautiful, upper middle class suburban life. And he's just completely tortured. Here's another page of him imagining he's, like the wild one. He's the super stud who gets the girl. But of course then he feels very guilty. This is actually a dream sequence. He decides, he wakes up early in a start from this dream, which to him is a nightmare. And he says, I can go to early mass at 6 a.m. And then things get even worse, as if they couldn't as if they could. His footprints start leaving penis-shaped, tracks, and then his feet start turning into penises with their own little rays and beams. The more he tried to deny their existence, the more real they became. See, when you have OCD, you can't just use logic. You got to be like, logically, this is foolish. There's no rays coming. My fingers aren't penises, but it doesn't work that way, I guess, when you're really crazy like that. You can't help it. This is how you see reality. So obviously he's freaking out. So now we also see that some methods in which he combats this is he starts becoming like super OCD about that chair isn't perfectly aligned with the wall. So when he enters a room, he has to adjust the furniture, almost like some sad feng shui. And this is interesting. In these panels, because he's being very anal retentive, Justin Green draws them very angular. Totally draws them unlike he does throughout the comic. It's like, once again, it's like a totally different artist. These things do make him feel better. So now he just starts seeing so many inanimate objects turning into penises. Anything slightly longer than it is wide is a phallus to him. They're all emanating beams. He has this complicated discussion of how all of these beams are intersecting. He has to be careful that none of them hit like a church or a statue of the Madonna. Basically what he's trying to do is have all of these rays shoot off into space, or at least into Iowa. That's the safe way to expunge them. Some more scenes of him in church, getting little boners, feeling terrible. And then finally, I think he's like 15 or 16. He can't take it anymore. One day he's in church and he says, that's the last straw. I'm going to hell for sure. Might as well try to get the best out of life. So long, Jesus, Mary, God, church. I'm no longer a Catholic. At least I don't have to worry about committing sins anymore. I'm damned for all eternity anyway. Now you'd think that, this is a good thing, and he's going to be okay now. But unfortunately, even though he is intellectually forsaken the church and Catholic scriptures and rules, he can't escape the compulsive acts. We see him grow up, 1959 to 1971. And the weird rays continue to beam from his pecker, hands, feet. So he just learns to live with it. He tries many things to take his mind off of it. Beer, gambling, speed. I love, once again, like I was saying, Justin Green could just show Binky Brown playing poker, but gambling is putting money up your ass and lighting it on fire. That's how he draws it. Herman Hesse novels. He's reading Steppenwolf and he actually starts turning into a wolf. Just like weird, silly stuff like that. He tries psychiatry. He even tries the blues. He tries acid. Nothing really seemed to work. He still had these ideas, even though he has rejected the church. He still can't help thinking that he has rays and beams coming out of his appendages. And he still has to be careful when he walks by a church. He has all these ornate geometric rules about how the rays might hit the statue of the Virgin Mary. I don't even know how you could live like this. So then one day, he's getting his hair cut, and it strikes him like lightning. He says, I'm going to lay the devil down today before the sun goes down. He goes to a little religious store. He buys 39 Madonnas, little statues of the Virgin Mary. And he does this ritual at his house. We see his feet are full on phalluses, his fingers. He's in his underwear. He's surrounded by these Madonnas. And he basically addresses Mary. He says, "Look, Mary, what's wrong with giving birth like ordinary ladies? Why so hoity-toity, so immaculate, so demanding of purity?" You died almost 2,000 years ago. But let's face it, you're just dust. You didn't ascend to heaven. You've been dead for 2,000 years. You're just a bunch of dust. It doesn't matter. And then he starts smashing all the little Madonna statues. He says, "I've got a hunch that the only way to turn off these crazy pecker rays is to blow up the main power plant. And I don't mean me." So basically, he's like, it's either you or me. I got to destroy you, to the Virgin Mary, and maybe that'll make the rays stop. And he starts smashing them, some more of them, into tiny little bits. And it seems to work. The rays are gone. So it looks like at long last, Binky Brown is he creeps out of the primeval morass of superstition and guilt. I think this was the original inside back cover, a little one-pager called Labyrinth. And it's him just basically giving us psychiatric advice. It feels like you're stuck in a labyrinth, and just basically how to extricate yourself from it. And here's the original back cover, which is really nice. They printed it in color. Really creepy drawing. I think this is actually aping a medieval painting. This looks familiar to me, the way he draws this awkward-looking lion. So now we have other Binky Brown stories that he did years later. Some of them not that many years later. This is called Sweet Void of Youth. We see that the art's definitely more accomplished here. So Binky is getting dressed down by his dean, the dean of students here. He basically says there are two Binky Browns. There's the one Binky Brown who's very creative and produces fine publicity art for the school. And then there's the other Binky Brown who squanders time doodling in the classroom or wasting time. It's your choice. The rest of your life depends on what choice you make. So he picks the wrong choice, according to the dean. He just is an obsessive doodler. He doesn't want to pay attention in class. All he does is draw. He draws cars and, sexy ladies. So that gives him some measure of fame in school. Even the tough guys in school kind of give him a pass because he will paint their jackets for him. So now we see him graduate high school, and he goes to art school. Now he has the dilemma that a lot of, artists had from the 50s on, going to art school, where just drawing representational art is totally looked down upon. And, the professors want you to do crazy, abstract, modern art. And if you draw a beautifully rendered, woman or something, or man, they'll be like, "Oh, that's shit." So he sees through this bullshit. And it's just like, oh man, this place sucks. And definitely if you were a cartoonist, that was totally looked down upon. So he kind of did his cartoons in secret, kind of kept it to himself. So he graduates college, and he gets a teaching assistant assistantship at a big college. You know, he uses all the art lingo. So he's underpaid and everything, but, you know, whatever, it's a job. He doesn't really have any job skills. So one day, he just says, fuck it. And he just quits his job. He wants to try cartooning. Apparently in real life, Justin Green saw an R. Crumb comic and really did this. You know, he had a cushy little job in academia. He just dropped out. Of course, he had to support himself, so he becomes a cabbie, a bus driver, a tuck pointer's topper. I like this, how even Binky Brown, he's got the job, but he says, what the hell is tuck pointing? They explain it. He's a mover. But eventually he ends up getting to just be a cartoonist. Doesn't make a lot of money, but he can just survive on his cartooning. He had this Puritan work ethic, even though I grew up Catholic. He just loved cartooning. He just worked at it. But pretty soon, it just became this obsession. And he just couldn't stop thinking about cartooning, where this became like almost as bad as, you know, his OCD obsessions. He actually shows fame as this tough butch angel, and, you know, he wants some degree of fame. He wants to be known for his art. But if you know anything about Justin Green's career, it didn't really happen. He had to do lots of side jobs and stuff his whole life. So then, like, we cut away to him getting hit by this golf ball. That's a really gruesome picture. Knocking his eyes out, making his nose accordion out of his skull. And it turns out the guy who hit the golf ball at his head, it's his old dean from the school. And he doesn't even remember Binky Brown. And he basically gives him some good advice. He says, listen, you artist types, you know, you need something like solid. Become a sign painter. Get your head out of the clouds. And so that's when Binky Brown becomes a sign painter. Of course, Justin Green did. Justin Green, that was his day job basically for decades. The comics didn't pay the rent, so he was a sign painter. We have this one-pager, Bad Money, and this is just about his sign painting hijinks. I know that he did a comic strip for the trade journal for sign painters. This could be from that. I have a feeling this is from that trade journal as well. Scribe, A Very Brief History of Letter Forms. And he kind of gives us this whole humorous history of lettering, from the Romans to different fonts that were popular, you know, in the medieval era, little tales that are developed on letters, talking about the illuminated manuscripts and the scribes, but then the printing press was invented, and they were shit out of luck. So they all went to the big cities and just became sign painters. They had these calligraphic skills, and that's how they could monetize them. We see that Justin Green's pretty damn good at this sign painting business. I guess 18th century America, letters had more pizzazz, fonts got jazzier. And then, unfortunately, in the age of computers, we now have the kind of generic, bland Helvetica, which has taken over all signage. I think this is from Arcade, an Amazing Underground magazine comic. This is incredible. You could stare at this for so long. There's so much to look at in here. This is The Gates of Purgatory. Of course, it's through Justin Green's humorous lens, so it's pretty funny. We just see all these people being ushered into purgatory. The ones that don't cut the mustard get thrown into the lake of fire here at the bottom. And we just have all this funny things going on here. Now, this I thought was amazing. Just 2 weeks ago, I think, maybe a week ago, we there's a video on the channel about Kim Deitch's work, Beyond the Pale. There's a story in there about some really rich guy who dies. He's a teddy bear fancier, kind of crazy. His whole life he collected teddy bears. And the little comic in this by Kim Deitch is about him on his deathbed, and as he passes on, he travels to this kind of heavenly afterlife of all these cute little teddy bears having a tea party with him. And when I looked at this drawing, I said, how come that looks like Kim Deitch? And it's that character. So I know this is from Arcade, and that comic was from Arcade. So I wonder if this was in the same issue, which I think is super cool. That Just Agreed would be like, oh, Kim Deitch has got that story in this issue. I'll do a little reference to it. I know this is very dorky, but I thought that was so cool that he drew this obscure character who never appeared again into his purgatory. He's getting saved by angels, of course, because he's a nice guy who just liked teddy bears. So I guess angels can intercede on your behalf. It's all this, Catholic dogma. But of course, Just Agrees making it funny. Now we have Giustiano Siverde's Bathos Playhouse. So now we got, all these are various reprints from things like Weirdo and Raw and Arcade. Here's a little story about Justin Green being on the Little League team as a teenager. He was terrible. They always benched him. I guess he just had a wild arm. He'd clock people in the stands. he was kind of a little terror out there. I like this. Great Moments in Alcoholism. Las Vegas, 1967. So it's a story about Justin Green's father. He was there to see his old friend Clancy Hayes play his ragtime banjo on stage. All of a sudden, this big party comes in of carousers, and they're whooping it up, being very noisy, kind of talking over the ragtime singer. So Justin Green's father marched over and personally told Frank Sinatra and company to shut up. So I'm surprised he didn't get his legs broken for that. Here we have Binky Brown in The Taboo Gown. So I think this was maybe from Raw. It doesn't really matter. It's a story from Binky Brown's teen years. His baseball game gets rained out. The coach takes him to see a movie. The Robe is playing. It was a 50s movie, 60s movie with Victor Mature and Richard Burton. So as he's watching, all the other kids are just, chatting. But Binky Brown, being the good little Catholic boy he is, he's obsessed by this film. And so he basically tells us the whole plot of the movie, how there's this weird, Jesus's robe is, if you don't believe in God, it's like holding an electric eel. It zaps you, basically. And this Roman centurion converts to Christianity. He's so moved by Jesus's plight. And then when he goes home, he has an article of clothing that's the same color as the robe, and he feels like he's getting zapped by it. So he throws it out. Binky Brown, the 1949 Slinky Slur. So we see Binky Brown playing with a slinky. His black maid, Beulah, tells him to go, find something else to do. Go play. Tries to occupy himself, of course, doing all these weird things. And then these two this brother and sister who always pick on him, they grab a slinky and then they cut it in half. They're like, now we can both have one. And then this is horrible. They tell him, they're like, because I guess, Binky Brown's just a rube. He's a moron. They say, hey, you want, do us a favor. The next time you see Beulah, your maid, will you say hi N-word to her? The N-word. And he's just such a dummy. He's just like, okay. So when he goes home that day, he just says, hi N-word, what's for lunch? And Beulah's just like, oh, this crazy fucking kid. And then his half a slinky doesn't work anymore. It's a weird little story. So bizarre. Here we have Sweet Surrender. And this is more of neurotic worrying going on here. We see this character, Nostalgia. It's this little dog in like a movie theater usher's outfit. And he's basically Binky Brown's Nostalgia. The art of this is kind of interesting. The like much heavier inks than normal. Really slapping down the inks. Really solid black inking going on. I do like this how he tries to get rid of his nostalgia, or he wants to, and then a dog catcher comes by and says, hey, do you know this dog who's bothering you? And he says, no, I don't. I've never seen him before in my life. He's like, well, he doesn't have a license. I'm taking him away. We're going to we'll take him to the pound for 3 days. If no one comes to claim him, we'll destroy him. So like 2 days and 23 hours later, Binky Brown shows up with the money and he rescues his nostalgia dog. Because this nostalgia dog just seems to hound him. No pun intended. This, I'm pretty sure, was in Raw. I love this story. Binky Brown meets Olympic legends. And we've looked at this before, but I'll give you a quick overview. Young Binky Brown discovers these Olympic legend cards. And there's this one, the one that strikes him is this woman, Edna Farmer, who was discovered because she was running to catch a train. Who happened to be on the train? This famous coach. So he convinced her to become a runner, and she became an Olympic legend. One day he's hanging out with his buddy, Binky Brown's hanging out with his buddy, and he finds all these Olympic cards. And the kid says, yeah, Edna Farmer, that's my mom. She changed her name when she got married. So now she's Mrs. Edna Schwartz. So Binky Brown becomes obsessed with her and fascinated. He has an unhealthy interest in the mother. He kind of looks at his own mom, who just cleans the house and sings songs all the time, sad songs. It's just kind of boring. Like, oh man, why can't my mom be exciting like that kid? So the friend invites him for a little getaway. I guess the father has to work. They're like, hey, you want to come with me and my mom to this little cabin for a couple weeks? So he's totally excited. He's like, oh, I'm going to be with, Edna. But then when they show up in this little town, this guy shows up. And he's this kind of charming guy. He even brings baseball bats for the kids. And it turns out that it's Edna's old manager, the guy who discovered her. Right off the bat, we realize that he's out flirting with her. So basically, at one point, the mother, Edna, gives the boys some money and says, why don't you two go to the movies? I want to catch up with Bob. So it's like, whoa, what's going on here? They spend the night they buy some firecrackers. They spend the night causing trouble. When they come back, they see this crazy tableau of Bob dead drunk, just saying, Edna, you've always been the queen of hearts to me. And she's like, stop it, just please leave. So who knows what happened. But the next morning, Bob is calling over and over. She's ignoring it. And then Binky Brown vows to just stick to baseball cards after this. And I love this trading card. Shattered preconceptions, sports mentor, a spurned lover. Edna, you should have been mine. Just a real, just sad, true type story. It just rings true, Next we have Hero of the Beach Revisited. And this is, of course, we've seen this 100 times before. The parody of the Charles Atlas ad. This guy, though, He, instead of sending away for the Charles Atlas course, he sends away for this this kind of bullshit ad. Sell White Clover brand salve and make money and earn prizes. The kind of things that were in the back of comics. So he starts becoming this salve tycoon. The money keeps racking up. He's got enough money to get some nice clothes, and he goes back to the beach with a can of mace, ready to confront that bully if he shows up. And then when he gets there, beach closed, toxic waste site. Love that ending. We have this little thing, Apocrypha, that Justin Green narrates, if you will, showing like this is a comic from 1968, which is kind of like a proto Binky Brown comic. It's called Confession of a Schoolboy. We see the very early Binky Brown strip from Yellow Dog, 17. This is from 69. There was a story in Laugh in the Dark, which I think we looked at on the channel, a Binky Brown story. So that's like a very early Binky Brown, at least a full year before, the Holy Virgin Mary comic. He talks about how he got the nickname Binky from an uncle. This is an illustration from Blab, where his mom and his aunts, they're burning a copy of Vault of Horror because of the anti-comic hysteria. A drawing that a friend commissioned of Binky Brown. And then this thing I found really fascinating. This is just Justin Green writing as if he's talking about Binky Brown, but it's really him just talking about his OCD, talking about what it's like day to day having this, and the weird dichotomy between the fact that it's crazy, but it doesn't matter. It's completely can't be real. There really aren't rays coming from your penis, but it doesn't help your brain at all. And all these great little illustrations for the article. This thing is pretty long, but I found it fascinating. I was just like, oh man. Some of the things he talks about were things that are talked about in the comic, but a lot of new stuff were just really elucidating what it's like day to day, minute to minute, having this crazy mental problem. Yeah, this is really interesting. Unfortunately, later in life, when he almost seems like he had conquered his OCD, he still definitely had the little things he had to do. But something happened one day where he broke this heirloom ashtray he inherited from his mom. He tried to make some new, take the broken pieces from it and make a new little icon or something, totem. And at first he was very pleased with himself. He's like, oh, I love this. Even if I don't have to worry about breaking things, I can just turn him into something nice. But unfortunately, he has this, he suspects that maybe this could affect, because it's right next to this Binky Brown signs, his sign painting business sign. And he's more like, oh, I hope this doesn't adversely affect my business. It's not a bad omen, because he still has these beliefs. And unfortunately, he has like this crazy bad run of luck. And it's almost as if, almost validating his silly beliefs. He gets injured in this accident, can't work for like 11 months. So it's kind of sad that he finally had this breakthrough, but then fate conspired to basically be like, see, this is what happens when you don't follow the strictures, the strict scriptures. Here's the cover of Show and Tell Comics. We looked at this, one of the earliest videos we ever made on the channel. Great comic, hilarious stuff. Highly recommended this Underground. This is the cover of Sacred and the Profane. This was an oversized comic Justin Green put out. There's I think one Binky Brown story in here. This is huge. And I love this. I think this is from Weirdo. This is Uncle Saul's Creative Arts Seminar. There are all these little strips. Uncle Saul's writing workshop. Uncle Saul's actress drill. Uncle Saul's music lesson. And he's just this like really just mean-spirited guy who basically has very tough lessons about the arts. And this one actress isn't giving, Saul's the director. She's not really giving it her all in this scene where she has to be sad. So he shows her a box of little chicks, and he just stomps them. And he's like, yeah, now you got something to cry about. That's the ticket. Take two. That's basically the shtick of Uncle Saul. I love how he's managing this rock band. And he says, I got just what you guys need. And he basically gets them jobs at a factory so they can pay their dues and learn about life. Great strips. This was an ad for Weirdo, but it's actually just a great Justin Green comic. It's called The Weirdo Difference. And, it's just like a typical ad. And basically there's the subscription or back issue thing right there. This was from Raw. A Babel Playhouse. This is another little religious strip. Here's a little drawing he do of a kite where the crossbeam is Jesus on the cross. Interesting little drawing there for Justin Green. Just a magic marker, just all about the color. And we see an ad for a Binky Brown t-shirt, but we do get to see this art, which I've never seen this t-shirt. I probably never will. I doubt many were sold. Here's a little risograph he did, or line cut, whatever you call it, linotype of that kite idea. Jesus coming off the cross on the kite. Never seen him really do this art style before. And that's it, guys, for the Binky Brown Sampler. Hope you enjoyed looking at this with me. I really couldn't give you a true sense of how great Justin Green is, because I would have just had to read the whole comic, and YouTube doesn't allow me to do that. But really give Justin Green a chance if you've never read his stuff. It's really just singular. Just how he plumbs the depths of his obsessions and his guilt and his religious turmoil. It's really great stuff. It's really powerful, but just the whole time it's entertaining as hell and funny. It's really funny. There's so many yucks in here. And so hope you guys liked looking at today's video, and I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.